So when you set off looking for housing for yourself, you may be in the position to consider the choice between renting or buying. So what are some of the considerations if both these options are open to you and you're trying to decide? So first, you should be fully aware of the fact that buying a house is a significant decision and commitment. So you should be sure that you're ready to take it on because not only will it be a big financial commitment in that you may have to invest a significant portion of your savings into buying the house, you'll also have to spend a good deal of time and effort to even buy the house in the first place because searching for the right home is pretty time intensive and it will take a good amount of time investment on your part to even get it done. So you should be ready to uh, get into the commitment. And another kind of idea on this word commitment, you know, you're going to have a big financial kind of liability that you're taking on if you're going to be financing the house with the mortgage. Um, you're going to have to, keep a job to pay the mortgage. You're going to have to be in some level of stability financially to take on this kind of this project of buying a house. So if you're planning on any big life changes, such as a career change, or you're not sure if you want to live in a particular location because you're not happy in your job, or whatever it is, you may not find it the best time to be looking to buy a house. So you should make sure that you're kind of in a good, stable life situation before you even consider buying a house that's going to be your primary residence. So, just a little bit more on this topic. Do you have access to money for the down payment? So, this is, again, as I mentioned, the down payment for a house for most people is going to take up a significant portion of their savings. So, do you have access to the money? Do you have enough saved for kind of a rainy day fund, even after you put the down payment for the house? So, kind of figuring out what you can afford in terms of a down payment is an obvious kind of consideration. Again, are you sufficiently confident you'll be living in a particular location for at least the medium term? And I think the medium term is 5 years. Let's use that as the benchmark. Is your job or career and financial situation stable enough for the long term commitment? So again, this idea that you're stable, taking on this financial obligation, you want to make sure that you're in a good position for that. You should also consider your housing needs in terms of space, beds and bath, and what kind of yard space you need. So once you've considered these factors, you can look at the rental market and the for purchase market and see which one has better options for you. So if you're a single person, you don't have any pets, you may not necessarily need to buy a house and you can find way more options in the rental market. But if you have a family or you're planning on starting a family, you have pets, you may want a yard, you may want more space. If you work from home, you may want an office space. So, all these considerations should go into your decision as to whether the rental or purchase market is going to have more or better options for you. Do you have better uses of your funds? So again, this goes down to this topic of the down payment. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to start a business, maybe the funds that you would have used for your down payment might be better spent investing in your business. If you're not quite sure about the location you want to stay in for the medium term, maybe you could invest the money in either an investment property or in the stocks, in the stock market, or other types of investments. So, considering whether you have better uses for your funds. If your friend maybe has a business and you want to invest, so the investment options that are available to you should be part of this consideration too, because there may be a better use of the money. So I kind of mentioned 5 years. So I think that's kind of a good benchmark. Are you going to be staying in this particular location and willing to live in the house that you're buying for at least 5 years? Why is this? Because there is a cost to buying and selling a house. So there's commissions, there's fees on the mortgage, inspections, closing costs. And so these are pretty significant. So if you're basically not committed to staying and you're going to buy a house and then, in a year or two sell it, you could actually take a loss. Even if you could sell it for the exact same price that you bought the house for, because of these costs, you could end up losing a significant amount because there's frictional costs in the buying and selling. So in California, just given the rent and kind of housing price dynamics here, there is a rule of thumb where if you can buy a house for less than 20 times the annual rent, you should consider buying. So let's say you have a housing option. It's a house. Let's just say it's a house, and you can rent it for $2,000 a month. That translates to $24,000 a year, and 20x that is 480,000. So if you can buy the house for 480K or less, then it may be worth considering to buy rather than rent. So this is just a rule of thumb, and it's really pretty specific to California, because there are other states. The markets are different. The expenses for owning real estate are different. So uh, you know there's going to be some modification to this 20 for other states and kind of other types of markets. But it's a good kind of general rule of thumb. So, this kind of gives you an easy way or a kind of a heuristic to go from rent to property value to see kind of is the property price in a range where it's kind of worthwhile to consider buying rather than renting. So, this is kind of a rule of thumb that you can use just as a ballpark. It's not specific or it's not exact, but it's at least will give you some sense. Like for example, if the rent was 2,000, but the house was 600,000, it may just be way off. So it wouldn't, you would be better off just renting. So, but if it's like, 500,000 or, close to 480, then you maybe want to dial more into the specifics of the property because it might still be worth it at 500, just given, the location and all that. Kind of related to this heuristic, doing a quantitative analysis of the market will help you decide. So, doing this kind of analysis where you look at the rents, you look at the property values, you consider the upgrades and the cost of kind of rehabbing a property. Doing putting numbers to your analysis will help you make a good decision. And one tool, I'm going to make another video on this, is the New York Times actually has a buy or rent calculator. And so I'll do a separate video where I show you this calculator and kind of the inputs into it. And this calculator will help you do a more exact analysis than I did with this 20x. It's basically this, but with way more detail, so you can kind of dial in the specifics to see, what is the better option.